You know, what's the secret weapon that lets a tiny biotech startup go head-to-head with some of the biggest pharmaceutical giants in the world? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this really powerful strategic partnership that's leveling the playing field and honestly accelerating some massive medical breakthroughs.
Okay, so let's just dive right into it, because this is a huge question in the super high-stakes world of drug development, right? You've got this small team of brilliant scientists, they have a groundbreaking idea, but they are up against these massive global corporations with practically unlimited resources. How do they even begin to compete?
So just imagine for a second, you've made a discovery that could cure a devastating disease. I mean, that's the dream. But the reality? It's like staring up at this impossibly huge mountain of obstacles. We're talking crippling costs, a maze of government regulations, and just intense pressure from investors. Suddenly, the impossible just feels, well, impossible.
But what if you didn't have to climb that mountain all by yourself? What if you could team up with an expert guide who knows every single step of the journey? This is where the whole story changes, and it's all thanks to a very specific kind of partner.
So, who is this partner? It's a CRO, which stands for Contract Research Organization. The best way to think of them is like a biotech special forces team that you can hire. They handle all the heavy lifting of drug development, running the clinical trials with human patients, managing all the incredibly complex data, and prepping all the paperwork you need for government approval.
And here is the absolute key. This partnership lets those brilliant scientists get back to focusing on the science. They get to stay in the lab doing what they do best, pushing the boundaries of discovery, while the CRO handles the massive operational challenge of turning that discovery into an actual medicine that can help people.
So how exactly does this whole partnership make things smarter, faster, and stronger? Let's break down how CROs really speed up the entire process. They make the journey to getting a drug approved not just possible, but way more efficient.
Just look at the huge difference here. If you try to do it all alone, you're looking at massive fixed costs, salaries, equipment, buildings that you have to pay for whether you're using them or not. A CRO completely flips that script. It becomes a variable cost, a pay-for-what-you-need kind of service. For a startup, that flexibility is a total lifeline. It protects their most precious resource, cash.
I love this analogy. It's perfect. Why would you build a supercar from scratch if you could just rent one? A biotech startup doesn't have to spend years and millions of dollars building a world-class clinical trial machine. By partnering with a CRO, they basically get the keys to that high-performance engine ready to go on day one. And it goes way beyond just the infrastructure. It's about getting expertise on demand. So whether you're working in a super complex field like oncology or cell therapy, or you're trying to figure out the specific rules of the FDA in the US or the EMA in Europe, a CRO gives you a whole team of specialists that a startup could never afford to hire full-time. CROs also bring a huge tech advantage to the table. We're talking AI for smarter data analysis, tools for virtual trials where patients can participate right from their homes, which, by the way, speeds everything up. They also use things like eCOA, which are basically apps and devices that capture much higher quality patient data in real time. So you add all this up, and what you get is what the industry calls the go big early strategy. By partnering with a CRO right from the beginning, a small company can seriously shrink the timeline from a lab discovery to an actual patient treatment. And that speed, that is exactly what gets investors so excited.
But, this isn't just about outsourcing a few tasks. It's not a simple transaction. The modern relationship with a CRO goes so much deeper than that. It really becomes a true strategic partnership. And this relationship is designed to be really flexible. A biotech might start small, maybe hiring a CRO for just one specific function. But as they grow, that can scale up into a full partnership. This chart kind of shows how biotechs use CROs today. About half use them as full-service partners, while others use them for specific tasks or just high-level strategic advice. The key is that the model adapts to whatever the company needs at any stage. And that strategic role is absolutely vital. Think of a good CRO as a translator. They speak the incredibly complex, always changing language of global regulators. They know the unwritten rules, the cultural nuances, and all the common mistakes that can completely sink a promising drug. They're there to guide the biotech safely through that whole conversation. Okay, so we've covered the efficiency, the expertise, the strategy, but what's the ultimate payoff here? What is the real game-changing result of this kind of partnership?
It all comes down to this.
When you're trying to get a new round of funding or maybe get acquired by a huge pharmaceutical company, the one thing they look at more than anything else is the quality and the credibility of your clinical trial data. It is literally everything.
So, partnering with a top CRO sends this incredibly powerful signal. It tells investors, hey, our science is backed by professional, high-quality execution. It cuts down the risk of costly mistakes. It makes you due diligence ready, which means you're prepared for that intense scrutiny from potential buyers. And all of this, it dramatically increases the value of the entire company.
So the big takeaway here is this. The partnership between these nimble innovators and expert CROs isn't just a business model. It's really an engine that's accelerating the future of medicine. And that leaves us with one really exciting question. With so much potential being unlocked by these teams, what incredible breakthrough is just around the corner?